Hello, welcome to my latest video. This week I'm going to look at, today, Christian maturity. And I want to look at three phrases that some people use when they think they're being mature, but I get the feeling it comes from a place of immaturity. And these are quite difficult. Some of these are quite personal in some ways. The first is the classic one, I've heard it before. I need more meat. And what they're trying to say is that what they get isn't enough for them. They need meat. It comes from the line where Paul talks about meat and milk, and in some ways it's a very spiritual thing to say. But the problem is, mature Christians don't need meat. Mature Christians recognise their fullness and know that actually, rather than needing to be more fed, they need to go out and they need to use what they've learnt and all the things they have discovered and been taught and all the input they've had. And it should, by this stage in their life, if they're really mature, have started to get them full, so full that maybe they're feeling bloated. And that's the time when you give up. Number one, I need more meat. Often said to me by people who think they're mature, but are actually immature. Secondly, when people say to me, and often it's said in the best ways, but what it's done is it's framing something in a religious way in order to make it sound, I think God is saying to me. And what normally follows is something I think, actually, I don't think God is saying that at all. One of the things people often say to me is, I think God is saying to me, I need to leave this small church, which I'm actively involved in, serving, being part of, and I need to go to that bigger church just down the road. And actually, I don't think God has ever said, I think that's what you need to do. To be honest with you, there are good reasons for people to go from being active people in churches to just pew filling. One is when people are burnt out and they just need a break, and I understand that some people get too involved and they just need to burn out. And the other is when there is a life event, like maybe a death of a spouse, a child, and they just say, actually, for this time, for a season, I need to be receiving rather than giving. And I completely appreciate that. What I don't appreciate is people saying, I think God is saying to me, when he clearly isn't. But it's framed in a religious way, which makes it sound okay. And the third one is when God is actually saying something to someone and they're clearly feeling something that God is saying. But what is happening is that what they're being asked to do is moving from their happy comfort zone into the uncomfortable. God is asking to do that. And then what they say is, I'm putting down a fleece. Now this, of course, refers to Gideon laying down a fleece in the story in Judges. But, of course, Gideon was incredibly immature. And actually the reason he didn't respond to God's clear calling on his life was because he was immature and he needed to test it and he needed to constantly test God. God, of course, did actually resolve his testing and his fleece questions were answered. But actually we phrase it of putting down a fleece. Actually what we're saying is, I don't really want to do this and I'm not going to. What mature Christians say, and this is very different, they don't use those three phrases. They use the language of sacrifice, of sacrificial living and giving and sacrificial being. One of the phrases I've heard someone said to me last week, and it's something I've pondered myself for a while, was there's a song, will be a sacrifice of praise into the house of the Lord. And it comes from a Psalm 116:17 where it says, I'm giving a sacrifice of thanksgiving. And I think mature Christians give a sacrifice of thanksgiving. It's one of the things they give. Sacrificial languages all over mature Christians. But I'm giving you one example. And for me, when someone explained it to me, I wish I could remember where I got this from, but the sacrifice of praise is an idea that when we go into a place of worship, even if it's not our style or not our fit, we recognise that for other people this is exactly what they need. And we run with it, even if it isn't what we like. So that might be someone in a charismatic service who's naturally contemplative or liturgical, or someone who is charismatic going into a liturgical complement, or liturgical service. Actually, maturity of people, real mature Christians, in my opinion, are able to go into whatever type of service they're in and find God in it. And that is giving a sacrifice of praises, laying down our particular style, because actually we recognise this is working for other people. So maturity, those three praises, they don't work with me for a start. I normally, when people say that to me, I go, okay, fine. But what that tells me is that they're not as mature as they think they are. What I consider, and this is my opinion, of course it's my opinion, is that maturity is sacrificial language. I am being prepared to sacrifice my comfort for someone else's benefit. And I'll be back tomorrow to talk about, I can't remember what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. But anyway, I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks, bye.